Save those inappropriate words for later.
Oh no. Did I start it with that?
What up, what up, what up?
Yes.
No, you didn't.
Good.
I started after you said the inappropriateness.
I gotta wait now.
Because we're here in the first 30 seconds to be very positive, very PC, and very just preparatory. I'm just trying to get ready for the stream, man.
What are we even saying about stuff? Okay,
I'm not
it's
even.
been 30
I don't
seconds.
even know.
Let's go. I think there's gonna be some fights.
Freaking go.
LFG.
Let's freaking go, man. Let me text my wife. Check us out and
go live.
Well, I mean, we're live.
I'm about to tweet it. No,
we're doing it live, bitch.
Nope. It's live because I said go live, right?
We're doing it live.
That's how it works in the 90s.
This is what podcast are we doing today?
Clout.
Oh, the Clout Route podcast. That's the one.
Woo!
Oh, the Clout Route podcast.
It is what it is. Vosh is trending.
He's
that
always
can't be
trending.
Good.
Honestly, it's either him or Hassan, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it is.
Well, today we are here to not talk about Elon Musk or Ludwig or
no Gus Johnson.
Joe Rogan, no Gus Johnson.
That's fair.
No Keemstar. Well, maybe a little Keemstar.
Maybe little Keem.
But we're here to talk about everything on this list. So if you can read that, you'll know what we talk about. You know, here, check it out. Handwritten notes. Again. I've been bored at work. Not bored, trust me.
Wait, yeah, that's it.
No, we're here to talk about the Creator Clash.
Woo.
That happened last night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and what a doozy it was. You know, I want to talk ins outs of the whole thing, all the fights, what we thought, how it went. How's that sound to you, Kevon?
I suppose I can do it.
Kevon.
I got some things to say about some things.
Some things to say, some people to do. Some stuff to smoke.
Ooh, what? Ooh.
I already did. Don't worry.
Ooh.
Don't worry, I already smoked.
Are we gonna go through?
I already smoked the weed.
Every fight.
Every one.
Yeah.
As long as you do that every time.
Give me more of this. Give me more of this world's famous cold brew, and I will.
Yeah, right.
So I have to cover this. Sorry, guys.
The first thing I wanted to say was this is like the first fight I've actually ever watched. Like I'm pretty sure that I've went to somebody's house or went somewhere where a fight was playing before and hadn't watched. But this is the first time like I actually sat down to watch any of the fights, so it was kind of interesting. You, however, have seen other fights, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not like a seasoned vet anymore at this point. I grew up, so boxing used to be pretty prevalent on ESPN in the 90s, like on Fridays and stuff like that. So I used to watch a lot of boxing growing up. Very rarely did I get to watch pay-per-views, but I do enjoy it. I nowadays will only catch the same big name ones that pop. So, you know, if Mayweather ends up doing some random charity event, I'll watch that. But it had been a long time. I've seen more UFC pay-per-views in the last 10 years than I've seen boxing events. So this was the first full boxing event that I've seen in a long time myself. But
I guess my dad used to get wrestling pay-per-views, but it was like WrestleMania and shit, and like shit like that. So it was a lot different than this. But I was gonna ask you how this compared, like, in certain ways to a normal
sure
fight. So like, in terms of the professionalism of it all, you know, like, did it look up to snuff in terms of, I mean, I'm not just talking about, like, the ring and, like, the arena
Right.
and everything like that, but, like, the production as a whole. So when we were watching it and, like, the way all of the graphics and everything worked, the way everything was set up, do you think it went over pretty well? I mean, if you had to rate it out of, like, a 5 kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say it went pretty well. This is going to be a bit of a mixed review, so I'm going to give it like a 4 out of a 5 if we're giving a 5-point scale. I was pleasantly
I guess we're
surprised.
going to go through some things. I want to take you through some things and ask your opinion. So,
yeah.
So I guess don't rate the thing as a whole. Kind of rate it as like in these bits and pieces. As we
I
go
got
along.
you.
So like
So yeah. So
professionalism
for
as
the
a-
professionalism as a product, whatever, I would give that a 4 out of 5. So I think it should be said that was a pleasant surprise to me at how professional it looked. I really expected it to. I didn't expect it to look as good as it did in certain parts. For the most part, I would say it did look like a paper. It looked like a boxing event. So, you know, but it's had its own little twist. Like, while you're not going to get any good boxing analytics from Charlie, you know how much I love. You know how much I personally popped. You know, like, oh, Moist Critical's a fucking commentator on this.
It was pretty cool to see that. Yeah.
That's cool. The other guys,
the Burger King foot lettuce guy.
well, yeah, I was just about to ask you. The other two guys, like, were they known people? Because I didn't know who they were, so I just assumed that they were like actual boxing guys or something.
So at one point they were. Well, we're gonna watch this fight because it's only 41 seconds.
Okay, so before we watch the fight, I guess
this will be when we get to them.
To put my final notes then on professionalism, there was one weird thing.
Okay, I wasn't gonna start anything. I just wanted to see if there was a shot of the 3 guys that we were talking about that you were asking about. But yeah, Moist Critical commentated like standing in front of the arena, in front of the what is it called? Fucking
the ring.
Think of the word.
Yeah.
The ring.
Yep.
See, that's how into sports I am. I can't even think of ring.
The squared circle. Ring. Yeah.
But they were standing outside of it commentating, and it was Moist Critical, and then 2 people that I'm not familiar with either. The really tall guy and the other one. The other one was a FaZe dude.
Okay.
The tall guy, I have no idea.
And I think
the Burger
the tall
King
guy.
foot lettuce was in the ring, talking to them afterwards.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know who that guy was. Okay. Yeah. So. They did a good job with that part of the presentation, despite none of them really knowing what they were talking about as far as boxing as a sport.
Right.
I don't really think they were there for that. That's where it would have been nice for them to have had one commentator that everyone could have turned to and said, you know, what's your opinion on this, you know, and get some of that professional feedback. But considering what it was, you know, I think they helped fill a lot of gaps. It seemed like they were more focused on in the introductions, kind of talking about who the creators were, and I thought the commentary did well with that. There was some random things that I would have done differently, like when they did the walk-ups for each boxer. I think they kept the camera on there a little too long, which meant it was cool because it made it feel like a stream.
Oh, you're talking about like when we watched them.
Yeah, when they watched it, because there was the one part, your boy AB, I think it was, he was like, I'm gonna wait for a certain part in the song before I walk out.
Yeah.
Which was cool as a content creator.
Right.
I'm sitting there like, haha, LOL. But you know, so that's like, you know, little things like that where I'm sure they'll polish that for the next one. So there were, of course, your little. But as far as like blemishes and hiccups go, like, I don't know, I felt like they did a pretty good job with the post fight interviews and everything. I mean,
I would agree with you on a 4 out of 5 kind of thing for that.
Definitely room for improvement, but
I guess in line with that, before I move, because there's like specific things that I wanted to ask you about, I guess, that I wrote down. But before I get into that, I guess a tangent off of this. Do you think that the commentators that they had were even necessary? I feel like they didn't even there wasn't much in between time. There wasn't much, like, they didn't talk between even their little bouts. What's it called? The matches? Is it matches in a round or whatever? Something like that. Well, whatever. Every time that they would stop, they barely even talked when they went to their corners, you know? They said something like, pretty bloody or something, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it just didn't seem like it mattered to have them there or not. It was more like, oh, we have Moist Critical as a fucking commentator.
Yeah. Well, that's where it would have been better to have had a boxer, right? Because those, and it would have been quick, but I mean, that's, if you watch boxing or UFC or anything like that, there's not much time,
Where was
obviously,
Joe Rogan?
in the break between. But that's why Joe Rogan talks so fast like this. He's got that high-pitched voice, and he's like, yeah, we got to say things really fast.
Oh, my God!
And present our expertise in only 20 seconds in between rounds. Roll that, Jamie. Bring that up for me. Jamie. Sorry, wrong thing. But yeah, so it would have been, and that's a way to enhance it, right? But then I also think for this first one especially, it might have been a good choice to not have a pro in the booth because a lot of these fighters weren't pros themselves, and so a lot of the things a pro would have said would have been things like, oh yeah, actually the way they're throwing those punches are bad. So like we'll get into maybe like the Minx fight later. I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, I want to go through all the fights too. Yeah.
There were certain fights where like people were landing blows, but if you're a fan of combat sports, you're a fan of boxing, you'd be like, oh wow, the person like does not throw a good, not necessarily throwing a good punch. Like, so a pro might have been a lot more constructive or a lot more critical of all parties in the ring.
Interesting.
Whereas just having these guys who are hyped to be here, they can just be like, oh God, a big strike to the head. You know what I mean? Like they can still narrate the action, whereas a pro, you know, might have exposed some of the flaws. So I do think it was maybe a good choice. I do think it's going to get better with this next one. I think people will be even better in the ring too. Yeah. Now that people have seen some success, I think people will come in and take it seriously. But for the most part, it feels like everyone took it really damn seriously.
Yeah, I'll say that it seemed, in the professionalism there, in terms of everybody kind of taking it seriously, the contenders and everything, I think that they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I guess just my biggest constructive criticism there is just like give that, if you're going to have Moist Critical and some dudes that, I mean, even if they don't know what they're talking about, I think there should have been like more time between matches or something to let them talk. Like say like, oh blah blah blah, that was cool for this and that or whatever, or highlight some replays and stuff. They didn't really do much of that, but I think it was because they were kind of trying to hurry it along. You know, make sure that they got done with everything.
Make sure that that it all
so fit. Maybe there's a little balancing there. Maybe they'll figure that out, I guess, and that's something they can figure out. Be like, maybe one less match so that they can have more time to like space them out.
Yep.
Or, you know, however they'll learn how to tweak it and speed it along in places where they'll probably, you know, lube it up and get it fucking moving smooth. You know what I mean? Lube it up with the spit.
Yes.
Did you think the matchups were fair?
Some of them.
Like, blatantly obvious ones. There were some that weren't fair.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, we'll go into the individual fights, so I guess we won't, you know, properly go into it here. But yes, like, you know, some of them, like Dad and Matt Watson was over quick. Internet comment etiquette was over quick.
A bad matchup. Yeah, the co-main event was a bad matchup. Not a fair match.
Harley and Aaron.
Aaron, props to Aaron. Not trying to take anything away. Not trying to take away anything from anyone. Honestly, it just some of these were not good matchups.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I was wondering. Were they
honestly,
good?
I would
were
say
they bad matchups, or was it flukes? Like, I don't know. I guess I don't watch it enough. I was wondering if you had a little better insight on that kind of stuff, whether they were just bad matchups entirely, or if it was like, do you think Matt Watson and Dad could have worked in a different scenario if it happened a little
Matt Watson and Dad is one...
You know, like any of them, I guess. But
yeah. Well, and I think when we can... Yeah, once... I'll be interested... Well, let's save Dad and Matt Watson for the end, then the end of this at least, because once we'll be able to watch that fight. Because I didn't get to watch that one with you, so I'd be interested. I haven't seen it. I've seen just the highlights, which will be about as long, I guess. But some of those fights, like, in general,
Harley and Aaron's. Like, do you think there is a world where Aaron maybe could have got it could have been a different result because he got a different advantage, maybe an earlier hit or something? Or do you think it was just no?
That one in particular, no, not a fair fight. And those are some of the ones where it's like, wasn't a fair fight. Like when you think about like Minx and Haley, I think that one was pretty fair because although Minx clearly had a power advantage, Haley was clearly the more skilled fighter. So I think there is a world where she could have won that fight. So I think that's a fair matchup. I think I comment etiquette. Not a fair matchup, but again, I don't know anything about the other guy, so maybe he just trained way better, and Eric just dicked off like he normally does, and
it was
didn't take it seriously.
For them, specifically, it was both of them joined late. Eric was there longer, since like February or something.
Okay.
The DJ guy joined like 5 weeks ago, but he had prior boxing experience or something.
Yeah, and I think that's a big takeaway that these guys will have learned from this, and I was going to talk about this with iDubbbz and Dr. Mike too. I think the bookers now understand how big of a gap gets created when someone just has any prior boxing experience versus someone who has none. Because some of these matches, I'm sure they thought and felt that they were pretty even, but in almost any of the matches where one of the people had previous boxing experience, it was not a fair fight, and you can even see evidence of them kind of almost letting up on their opponent at times because it was like, oh, this is not a fair fight here. So I do think they'll get, but then there were other ones that were, like not all of them were bad matchups, but but that's tough when you're booking an event like that and you don't already have the resources. Like, it would be relatively speaking easy to book like a UFC pay-per-view right now because all these people are ranked. You know what I mean? They all have previous experience, so you can easily pull your people and say, okay, the percentages say this should be a good matchup. This is literally drawing fucking straws when it comes to booking the creator clash because you really don't know what you were going to get. Like, who expected the TikTok dancer to come out and have that good of boxing form?
I didn't think that she was going to come out and perform at all. I thought Minx was going to club her ass. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess in terms of the fairness in the matchups, maybe they have a little work to do. I said like a 3 out of 5 kind of situation. I don't know if we need to really put a number to it. I've just been kind of doing that so far, but like,
that's fun. I like it. It's fun. Let's quantify it. I like it. I give that a 3 as well.
Yeah, it's fair.
It could have been better, but that's a tough thing to do, and I'd say for a first try, especially considering like people dropped out and you got people to come in late. Yeah, it's better. A lot of other events have faced certain pitfalls like that and not been able to put the show together at all. So, yeah, definitely not like a failing grade by any means when it comes to that. But yeah, there were some that were rough. Like even the main event. Like I feel like even iDubbbz was really no match for Dr. Mike. But we can get into a lot of that later.
Right? Yeah. No, we'll get into that. The last kind of category that I wanted to talk about is kind of just like the entertainment value altogether.
Sure.
Like lengthwise and just quality, like fun, how much fun we had watching, and I also kind of wanted to criticize the hype for the matchup. For the event as a whole. Do you think that they successfully, I guess this would be like the media side of it all.
Sure.
Do you think they handled a good event in terms of the time of it? Did they take up enough time? Was this pretty comparable to regular pay-per-view events?
Yes. So what was the official start time? Was it 6 o'clock?
It was 6. So it was like 6 to 10.
So a lot of times what you'll see right now, and I don't know, UFC might be longer. Yeah, I'll occasionally catch a WWE pay-per-view since it's on Peacock now, and you don't actually have to pay for it. And those tend to, like, the pre-show will start at 6, but that's really for the super fans. In my opinion, it's wasted content. It's really just for people who are at the arena sitting down to have something to watch. It's just like an hour worth of interviews and just more promo hype, and then about a 4-hour event. So yeah, most events are running like 5 hours, but it's with that extra bullshit on the front.
Which they didn't really have much of that.
Yeah, did they? Okay, I was gonna say. So if it started, it went 6 to 10. I'm used to like 7 to 11. It's about right. Yeah.
You missed the front a little bit. It was like the first 2 matches, I think, or 3 maybe. I think you might have missed the first 3 because they went so fast.
But then also to put it, and that's, you just said something that's key to what I'm about to say, to put it into perspective, when the Creators Clash was over, and I can't remember the number, so forgive me, I came home and there was a little watch party going on for UFC Fight Night, whatever number it was last night. And that main card, I think the undercard started at like 4, the main card started at 7, and it was finally over between like 12:30 and 1.
Wow.
So sometimes,
Holy
and that's the thing,
shit.
If every fight goes the distance, you can have these really long nights. So that's the other thing.
So
we had some very quick fights, so that's kind of also why it was only 4 hours. It probably was planned
imagine.
To be a little bit longer, yeah.
Yeah, you think that it was planned out to be longer?
Probably
I mean, it
about
had to
5
have been, I
hours
guess.
was the plan, yeah.
It had to have been, I guess, because you got to plan for like every. I mean, when you're planning it, you have to plan for every fight going 5.
To go full round and then to have a little time for a decision, yeah.
So.
Yep.
Interesting. I guess that's me being a newbie to the whole scene. I guess I didn't think about it in terms of that, like, because I was gonna say, oh, this was a great length for like an event like this. I felt like I got my money's worth, and like it was enough time to keep everybody's attention for that specific amount of time, and then everybody was ready to fucking go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was good, but this should have been longer.
It could have been longer, but that could have worked to its benefit. So. A counterpoint, Vince McMahon and his unlimited knowledge has unfortunately...
Unlimited. I mean, and unlimited money.
Yeah, unlimited knowledge and money has stretched out WrestleMania, which used to be the biggest event in wrestling for the year. He's now stretched it out to 2 5-hour nights, so it's every Saturday, and it's a Saturday and Sunday every year now.
No way. How does that work? You just watch it 2 different nights?
It's 2 different programs. They've forced in enough content for there to be a title match every night, because now they have 2 men's world champions, 2 women's world champions, 2 tag, because they have Monday night, Friday night show, so they have 2 of everything, and so then they water those cards down. They have a 5-hour Saturday, a 5-hour Sunday, and by the end you're just like, man, I really feel like you wasted my time.
10 hours.
Why couldn't you have just picked the 5 or 7 best fights and just done one good 5 to 6 hour show that is supposed to be like your Super Bowl for the year, and then just like you said, leave me feeling satisfied with that one night of entertainment and move on. So I think you would rather be on the short side. You'd rather be like, oh yeah, that was good, I feel satisfied, than be like, oh god. I mean, even with the UFC thing last night, maybe it was because I had watched 6 straight hours of combat sports in general, but I was very fatigued by the end. I was just like, dude, please just be over. I don't even care anymore.
Maybe that worked to their benefit this year too, because there's probably a lot of people like me who don't necessarily watch this kind of stuff and had a pleasant time like I did. Like the length was perfect, to the point that I'll be, me not knowing any better, I'm already like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll fucking watch it again next year.
Yeah.
I liked it so much, and if it's only gonna, if it's gonna be like this, sure. And then next year it'll be fucking 6 hours long or something.
Yeah.
As long as all the matches go better, because it's fucking better, parsed out. Do they do stuff like that on purpose? Like when they're planning a night of boxing or a night of wrestling even, or whatever? Do they do matchups on purpose that they think like, you know, like somebody, I could see this one coming down to like a knockout punch by this guy, and then it'll be over like that, and they want that.
I do think so. So now I don't know enough about the UFC or anything to really speak confidently about how they book, but I definitely know and had seen enough about wrestling to know that is very much a thing, because that's all scripted anyway, right? So
Right.
they will plan certain matches to be short. They'll have your sort of like concession stand match where it's like, oh, we have this one that we think is going to be a real show stealer, and this is going to run like 20 minutes long. People are going to be really invested. So the next one, they're probably going to want a break and a palate cleanser. So let's have something a little softer, maybe a quick match. Maybe it's just a speaking segment or something, so people can go get popcorn, go take a piss, and they won't miss anything.
Maybe put just like shittier matchups that nobody cares about them.
Exactly, or a lesser known story, so that something's going on, but people can walk away and miss it. But then the same thing, like with I have seen some matchups on UFC and boxing cards where it's clear it's not a title fight, it's an undercard match, and you're like, both of these guys have 16 wins and 12 of them are by knockout. And you know, okay, this was clearly meant to be like they booked these two guys because they think one of them's going to knock the other one out. That's all all both of them do. So I do think you see some of that. I don't know how much of it, how much plan. I don't know how much like I said, wrestling is like trying to write. You're like writing a play. It's like, but the stage is a wrestling ring.
These guys
so
actually
that's a lot
seem
more
like
scripted.
they were trying to be fair.
Yeah,
and
this
measured
was a
about
real
it,
sporting event,
rather than do like the fun like.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's make this a knockout match or whatever. I get it.
Yeah, this was treated more like a real sporting event, which it was. You know, it just wasn't professionals. But even what the final match was actually sanctioned. The main event was a sanctioned bout. So.
Yeah. Do you think they hyped it up enough? Do you think that there was enough like? I mean, they sold out. So I guess they sold out the arena.
And that's another thing. I mean, so to answer your question, I would say yes. I think early on, it's important. I think too many startups like this in the sports world get too ambitious, and they want to immediately be able to compete with the big dogs. And you have to just take a well-run event like this where people are speaking positively. You look at Hundar's tweet, and you see that iDubbbz and Michael Reeves were both trending on Twitter in combat sports and general sports topics. Like, that's a huge fucking win, dude. That's especially in a sport like boxing that is really kind of dying in the public.
That's what I always thought.
You know?
It's like I never hear any.
Yeah, you don't. That's why Jake Paul's popular.
Yeah,
like, there's no one else.
To me, I don't even know. I have no concept of like when boxing is supposed to take place. Like all other sports, it's different. Where it's like, I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me. Basketball's a certain time of year where you're actually watching basketball. You know, football's the same way. You're only watching a certain time of year.
Yeah.
Baseball kind of is. I don't know. They fucking have baseball all the time, practically. But you know what I mean.
Yes.
So like with boxing, it just seems like there's no boxing until all of a sudden there is. You know what I mean? All of a sudden I hear like, oh, it's fucking Mayweather fight. It's like, oh, okay, they do this shit just whenever?
Yeah, yes. Well, so UFC is all year round. They have a pay-per-view every single month. And then now on, I think,
That's
this
how
is
that
not
works.
sponsored, by the way, and I honestly don't think it's worth your money. So just to get that out of the way. ESPN Plus, with that subscription, I think they have their own, like, they have an event every Saturday night. So there are UFC fights every week of the year, I believe. But yes, it's much more rare because more fight or more prep time is needed in between. Like you need months off in between fights to rest from the other one, train for the next one, maybe cut or gain weight. So yeah, a fighter's only going to maybe fight
from a concussion
2 to 3 times a year, maybe. And so when you have those high-profile guys, that's why you're only seeing them. You're seeing them at random times and only a couple times throughout the year because as that talent pool gets smaller, they can't have as many big events because no one cares enough to watch. So they become more and more sporadic. Now, they do tend to be summertime just because humans do more things in the summer.
So you think a yearly event is like is peachy basically for something like this?
I think that's exactly where you start because again, sorry that we're talking about wrestling so much, but it really is a good apples to oranges compromise here.
Right. I think that this is, I mean, they are boxing, but it's like it's very, very akin to wrestling because they aren't boxers.
Yes, because it's about the personalities.
They're pretending to be boxers.
Exactly.
Kind of. Like wrestling. Wrestlers are pretending to. I mean, obviously, there's more to it than just saying that they're pretending to be wrestlers, but they're like putting on a show.
Yes.
I think both things kind of are similar in that way, where it's like these YouTubers are kind of. You saw Minx doing like twerking and shit when she was fighting. Dude.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the terminology,
and Dr. Mike coming in with the fucking.
Dr. Mike and Harley both cut really good promos. Like Harley, him calling out, giving props to Aaron and then calling out Dr. Disrespect. That is a wrestling like that's pulled straight from wrestling. It's called a promo, and he did it wonderfully. Like this dude, like I mean, Harley's a showman. He knows.
He
what
loves
the fuck he's
wrestling.
doing. That's why he came out dressed as fucking Solid Snake. Like obviously that's not a wrestling reference, but him coming out in full character and doing it up. But yes, and so to go back to what I was saying, yes, starting at one a year is great because one of the things like Vince McMahon bit himself in the ass when he split the WWE brand in two, and now he has these two IPs and neither one is really fantastic, and it's kind of a watered down product and no one really cares, and it's still living off of success from 30 years ago. That's what's keeping it afloat now. But these guys don't have that. Like maybe if boxing were in a healthier place as a sport, then I would say, okay, yeah, maybe quickly try to get to where you're doing multiple Creator Clash pay-per-views. But for now, like, no, take your time to, like, I would say commit, pick one for next summer now. Or if you don't want to do a full year, like, you can do one by April. But yeah, no, pick your date now. Get some people like Harley who you like. Get those early commitments that you can get now, and then just shoot for next year. And then once next year blows it out again, maybe then start to consider doing multiple. But doing shit like this is a full-time job. So you know what I mean? Like iDubbbz and
you have to prepare for it.
Are gonna, whoever's booking it, you have to. I mean, are you going back to South Florida's campus to do it again? Are you going to a bigger venue? Who talks to all those people? Like, it's a shit ton of work. So I strongly suggest one a year for now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Work on making this one better.
We can probably get into it as we go through the fights, but that's one of the reasons why I don't see iDubbbz fighting again. Probably not next year, at least. It's because if this time he had to train and plan.
Yeah.
All of it at the same time. And when he talked about it on the H3 podcast, he said it was just like fucking hard as fuck.
He needs to be doing one or the other. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that maybe this next time he just takes the planning and doesn't fight. But anyways, that is our take on how the event went. I'd say overall, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. You never want to give a perfect score, 5 out of 5. They always have room to improve, but I'd say overall, it was a fucking good showing, dude. I had an excellent time watching. It was fun as fuck.
Same. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. There was a charm to the amateurishness of it too. We'll get into it. But some of these fights, you did get the same kind of excitement. Like in the finale, although it was very much a one-sided fight, it felt kind of like Rocky 1. Everybody rooting for this guy to survive, and stay alive and do all that stuff. So yeah, it was a charmer. And then, there's some other just meme-worthy moments that
we're about to watch. A meme-worthy moment. Before we get into the fights, I just wanted to talk about the first.
Starting off with the very best part.
The best part of it all, yeah, right here. I haven't actually vetted this clip, but this seems like the one that we're looking for.
You can always, go to my Twitter too if you want to see it, because it's. I don't know if you guys knew it, but it is self-promo Sunday. So just fucking deal with it. If you don't want to hear it, just mute me on Twitter. But
self-promo Sunday. Is that what you call it?
Self-promo Sunday, baby. That's what we do. Yes, and Kevin is trending. That's right, my dudes.
There you go.
There he is. I don't know. I've kind of
is
been
it on your Twitter?
I've kind of been going hard today. Yeah, I tweeted it yesterday. Although I retweeted that specifically so we could look at it. The cheap shot from Dr. Mike.
Oh, I do want to see that.
So I've got that on the feed though.
Where's
little bit further? There he is.
Oh yeah, this is self-recorded.
Oh yeah, this is from
awesome.
from my time in the sports world. I know that the quickest way around a content ID filter is just to film something that's on TV with your phone.
Do you think you get copyrighted for this song?
No, but I could get. It's footage from a pay-per-view event, so it's good.
I love that.
Oh God. So I believe that.
Let's just fucking do it.
I believe that part. Do you think any of this was like done on purpose? Because he ends up singing it 3 times. The second time was great because like the crowd gets into it with him. I think this is the second time maybe.
They're all standing up.
It was pretty epic. I mean, like, after he failed, everybody tried to help and joined in. I loved it. It was a great moment.
It was a great moment, but he was so bad that they couldn't even keep with him because he put the second verse first and then
the wrong
did parts
words
from
on, like,
the
every
first verse later, and the whole thing was just... I mean, they really should have had someone like him start it. I think it was great that they saved it for the final battle.
Yes, definitely. I think that segment right there made the event for me. Like it made it worth it that I got to see Airsoft Fatty fuck up the national anthem 3 fucking times and didn't get it right in the end.
He never got it right.
He never got it right. So.
But in a way, he got it exactly right.
Exactly. Let's talk about the fights. Thanks for the National Airsoft Fatty Anthem.
Let's go.
The first fight that you missed. We can actually
watch a fight in its entirety.
Yes.
This is beautiful. Like,
22
it's gonna be great.
seconds. Okay. I took some notes about all the fights and everything.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say this while we were on this fight. Dad and Matt Watson. Quickest fight of the night. 22 seconds, bro.
Woo.
Let's watch this fucking clip. And Dad, I mean, this makes him look fucking crazy, dude. He looks like a fucking kook.
I mean, this is what happens when you are in the kind of world that Dad's in, man. I can't even begin to get into it. Is it muted? Technical difficulty?
No, I mean, there's just no sound of this.
Oh, that's fair. That's another good way to avoid getting yourself
Look
in
at
trouble.
this, bro.
Boom, bang, boom, boom, bang, boom.
I mean, he's getting clocked, and then he's like, he's laughing, I feel like.
Man, okay. Matt gets a couple shots in. I was wondering if he was going to get in. He does not have his hands up.
He said, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then he laughed there, I feel like.
And now it's done, because he just won't put his hands up. But, seeing this would have scared me. Like, I'm kind of glad I got to it late. Like, seeing this as the first fight, I would have been like, oh, God, boys, what are we in for? That just looks bad.
Because he just nails him. Oh, way to sneak in there and surprise me.
Sneak in a little autoplay, you skankers. Wow. What a skank, dude.
But,
Twitch, don't ever do stuff like that.
Wasn't that epic? Like, 22 seconds, and Dad just fucks him up.
Flurry after flurry after flurry. Again, the big takeaway there, Matt Watson would not put his hands up. Well, the sad part, really, I mean, Matt Watson, all he had to do was really withstand that for a round or two. I mean, easy for me to say, right?
This is what I was saying about Storm. Do you think that...
There's no way Dad can keep that pace for the full match. Like, there's just no way he's going to have the energy. He's just teeing off on him. So all you got to do is just deal with it and defend. But when you just don't have any hands in front of your face, yeah,
I love how
you're gonna
cocky he is about it, dude. It's so good. He fucking fucks him up.
He's got the swagger for it. And props to the announcers. That sounded very Joe Rogan-esque. Like they were hyped. They were ready to go.
This was early
at
though.
11.
Like
Yeah. That was the first. I mean, that's how you had to be early on. This was the perfect way to start something like this, right? Because the populace will not enjoy good boxing. Like really good boxing is boring, dude. Floyd Mayweather,
that's
greatest boxer of all time. How many of his matches are boring ass like decisions where he's just too fast, the other guy can't land, and he just lands 100 fucking jabs and he wins.
When he was fighting or who was it that fought the Paul brother? Was it him?
Yeah.
And isn't that what people said about that fight?
It's boring.
Too? That
he
was being like standoffish and kind of like.
That's what he does. He just
stays.
Yeah, he just says you can't hit me. You're not going to be able to hit me. And I'll just outscore you in points because I'm too quick. Even at fucking 50, he's still too quick. But yeah, so good boxing. If we had just seen these two just dance off and dodge and duck and weave and land punches, like that's kind of a slow, methodical start that maybe wouldn't have set a good tone for this. So I mean, this is kind of exactly what you want as an opener. Fucking just
that's a lot of what I heard
off on
over the night from. Some of our buddies that were sitting around watching with us, that this was actually entertaining compared to usual boxing because these people are going all out and like they don't know what they're doing necessarily, so they're kind of going in a little bit more as opposed to a regular fight. So I think that is to their advantage going forward too. All these people that are like boxing for the first time, those are fun fights, I think. I mean, maybe not for them. I'd be terrified, but for us watching.
So long as someone's the aggressor. Boxing's always better when someone's being aggressive. At least more entertaining. Yes, you are correct. That without that knowledge of counter offense and all that stuff, it can make it a lot more fun, a lot faster paced.
The second fight, which was Ryan McGee and Alex Ernst, this was one that went, 18 minutes, there you go. So it went quite
this is the one that went the distance, right?
Yeah, it went all the way, yeah. And it was decided this dude wins.
So was this best fight of the night then because it went the full distance? I didn't see this one. I saw the highlights.
So
definitely some good blows in there, but
I don't know if I have any pictures of. Let's see.
Oh wait, yeah, you get it.
I might have some. Well, here actually, I have some tweets about some of the stuff we've looked at so far. So hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go any further. Airsoft Fatty picture. Airsoft Fatty is a national treasure.
Yes, he is.
People loved the Airsoft Fatty thing, so there you go there. Dad and Matt Watson, you blew it, because Matt Watson tweeted, I'm going to kick at Dad's ass tonight, 21 hours ago. You blew it.
He did not look like a guy who wanted to kick anybody's ass.
He had his ass kicked.
Looked like he was prepared for an ass kicking of his own.
To anyone who bet money on me, just send me a Venmo request.
Which, dude, I have learned the hard way. You can't make these kind of sarcastic jokes on a social media platform. You'll get fucking hit. Too many people will take it seriously. I think it's funny that people did it. You see some of the bottom one where it said creator clash you Nancy boy. Like people were getting real aggressive.
I love it. I love it.
Man, good times, folks. Good times.
But so the Ryan McGee Alex Ernst fight was good. It went the distance. Ryan McGee he was the one that got hit a couple more times out of the bunch. And there's your aftermath. That's a fat nose, bro.
I think that's a broken nose.
That is a fatty, dude.
But that looks...
Damn, son. Holy shit. I feel for you, dude. We'll leave that up.
Hope these dudes got a decent payout. I know this was for charity, but goddamn.
So yeah, he got fucked up. That was a pretty good. This was actually one of the good fights. So if Matt Watson and Dad was a quote unquote bad fight, even though I thought you were right about it, set the tone, it made it fun. So I think it was good for what it was. But this was an actual fight. They went the distance. They fought the rounds. Blah blah blah. And Ryan got his nose broken apparently.
Poor guy.
The next fight, I'm not even going to pull up anything about it because it was another one that was over too quick. It was DJ Welch versus Internet Comment Etiquette.
Oh, we're not going to get to see Sweaty Eric get beat up? I kind of want to... Oh, it's okay.
There's no point. Okay. I've got some tweets, I think.
No, it's no big deal.
You know, actually, I don't have anything on them whatsoever. Yeah, because it was one of the... Although it was one of the fights that I was looking forward to the most, it was a
big disappointment.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, Eric just got his shit rocked, and then it wasn't fun to watch. And then this is how you've got people commentating this shit. He's standing in front of his TV doing it.
It's good. Dude, I love it. It's, you know, hey, I mean, we gotta find ways around it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Unless the commentary is bad, then I'll say you're lazy. But
I mean, there's a little bit of Eric and DJ Welch afterwards, and you can see that the Welch dude basically came in and left the same, and Eric's fucking face is fucking
inspirational soy boy speech. Did Eric give a speech after the fight?
He just said, like, this guy joined 5 weeks ago, and he beat my ass, and blah blah blah. He's a good fighter, and yada yada. Yeah, you know, because Eric got rocked fast. This was like 2 or 3 rounds, I think, and then it was over. I was bored, honestly. I was disappointed, and you didn't miss much. So there you go, in terms of that one. But I think the I Did a Thing Odd One's Out. You saw that one, right?
I did. That was my entrance, which was also a good, for the same reasons the Matt Watson fight was a good starting point. This was a good starting point for me because I got to hop down.
Because it was sweet.
Yeah.
This dude's a nut job. Here, we can watch some of this.
This would be another one where it's pretty quick.
Watch him get clubbed, dude. Fucking Odd One's Out gets so fucked at one of these punches, dude. I just want to see him get one solid fucking smackaroonie.
And can we, at some point we'll have to talk about the fact that this dude fought in khaki shorts. Which is just ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah, like, what's up with that? You don't actually have to wear a certain thing?
If it were a sanctioned fight, he would have. But yeah, that guy actually got another shot in there.
But that's it, dude. That's it. Oh, fuck.
Boom, that's when it's over right there. He's done on his feet, yeah.
He even is like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, it looked like he wanted to touch gloves again or something. Even this guy's like, dude.
Oh, he's so much slower and just done, dude.
At one point, he
looked at the ref. I can't believe we're about to
like,
actually watch this whole entire fight.
You're going to let me fight this guy still? It should have been over. Well,
right there, yeah, he stops and he's like, yo, dude, am I supposed to stop now?
I forgot. We'll get to see all of another fight. We'll get to see all of the Michael Reeves fight, or at least we can just watch the second round, maybe.
Oh, we can watch a little bit of it, but this guy just gets fucking blah.
Because that was one where, yeah, they do call it pretty well, but yeah, because there were times in other fights where you're like, man, I think maybe these guys called the fight a little too soon, but I don't know. It looked like the Odd One Is Out was in space. He was just floating off right after that. Once he staggered back, man, and then did the...
It's so cool. I love watching
He was just done, man. He was...
So...
Gotta get him out.
I think that this guy who won, I Did a Thing, which is the guy in the apron, the guy that was whooping ass. And I think probably Dad, so far, both of those two, will probably come back and fight again because of how their fights went, I think.
I would hope so. I mean, that would be what's best for the event. I mean, be good. Good.
But this
build
was
on
the
that
next
success.
shortest, a minute 24.
Yeah.
Minute 22, this says, so there you go.
Yeah, this one, I actually missed the majority of this fight because I went to go grab a slice of pizza from the kitchen. Like, that's how long that's all it took. Threw my coat off, went to grab some food, came back, and the fight was over. And I was like, why is this dude wearing an apron? He looks like a butcher. And, yeah, he put in quick work.
And then there was the Justin Minks Yodeling Haley fight, which I think was probably the most entertaining fight because it was just a bunch of, I mean, it was two chicks going ham on each other. They
really
brought it, dude. I thought.
Really brought it.
I mean, I had Minks the whole time because she's just bigger and she's just bigger. I mean, it's hard to imagine it was hard for me to imagine the other girl winning. However, she put up a fun fight. I mean, it was
hell of a fight, dude.
It was pretty cool to watch. I mean, she was quick. It was like Minx had like the power and the defense. I mean, she was just eating that shit up.
Yeah.
But the other girl was getting bloodied, but she was quick, you know, trying. But
and had great footwork, great form. You could just tell there wasn't a lot of strength behind her actual punches, at least not enough for Minx. But it's funny, the decisive blow that Minx landed was, I think, technically not a legal boxing punch, but
because you were saying she goes like pop pop.
Yeah, because she went across and then came back with the backhand.
Oh yeah.
And it connected like knuckles across the chin like that, and like a backhand. And I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, I'm not trying to present myself as fucking Max Kellerman over here, but
I don't know who that is, but I don't think you're trying to be Max Kellerman. Okay.
Someone will say it in the comments, I'm sure. But I appreciate the engagement.
But the Minx fight was dope. I think she'll come back too. I think that you can't talk shit about the girl fight, man. It was good.
Exactly, yeah, and I'd love to see her come back because I would love to see what Minx could do if she got some, like if Minx had the footwork and the training that Yodeling Haley had. Like, I think she could fight in like a semi. You know what I mean? I think she could fight fighters. Other female fighters. Just, if you took those two things together, it'd be like, wow, that's a great fighter.
I think some of the people that are like, I heard someone refer to Jake Paul like, oh, he's kind of transitioned from being just a YouTube fighter to like being a fighter now. He's fought enough and he's good enough, I guess. According to some people.
That argument, sure, yeah.
So, but I think that a lot of these people could, you know, have a similar trajectory if he could. Sure. If they continued to fight. I mean, I think Dad might be too old, and you know, some of the people aren't made for it. But like somebody maybe like Justin Minks would be one of those people that maybe you're right. Yeah, if she like kept going with it, she could be. Wouldn't that be epic?
Also, Justin Minks,
I'd watch all of her pay-per-views.
Could maybe give old Vince McMahon a call, because with a nickname like the Irish Lass Kicker, she could go. There's a woman in the WWE named Becky Lynch, who also is a bit of an Irish Lass Kicker, who they could pair her up. I mean, they've printed money with that before. I feel like.
Do you think a wrestler would box in a boxing?
No, but I think Justin Minks could easily be trained to be a women's wrestler in the WWE, where they have. Honestly, right now, their women's product is probably better than their men's wrestling product. Like, their women's division is at its peak right now. Yeah. Ric Flair's daughter is one of the top women wrestlers, and they just have a ton of talent. I'll spare you all the boring details, but they have a great women's division, and like I said, they printed money off of the success of one cocky Irish woman. So imagine if they had two of them, while one was still in her prime and the other one just beat someone's ass in a boxing match. So I don't know, could be mutually beneficial. The WWE certainly could use the youth publicity. That's why Logan Paul is now wrestling.
Nuh-uh.
He was in WrestleMania, dude. Yeah. We'll have to talk about it at some. I never watched it, but I heard.
Right. Maybe we will revisit that then at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, great fight there.
Transition for me, I gotta pee.
The next fight was Hundar and AB.
Ooh, that was another good one though.
I think that this was one of the better fights. I mean, it went the distance for sure. I appreciated that much, you know, like if the fight went the distance and the people involved, you know, persevered and held on until the very end and fucking did their thing. Especially like none of these people are fucking actual fighters. None of these people, well, most of them have never had any experience. Some of them have had some, but all in all, you know, they're not fighters. So to see them go, you know, some of them expectedly went 22 seconds or a minute 24 seconds, but some of them went the distance, and I think that's really commendable. I mean, I will say this too, as we're talking about all these people and talking shit or whatever, I get rocked. I'm 30 years old. There'd be no way in hell I'd be training for a year and be able to fight any of this shit, dude. I'd fucking get rocked by these motherfuckers. I don't know about you. I mean, me, I'm fucking getting...
I couldn't box
I would have to, like, fight Michael Reeves.
Let's
and then
do
I'd give
it.
him a noogie and give him a fucking wedgie and fucking flush his face in the toilet.
Ooh.
Like I'm a bully. Like, that's the only person I could fight and probably get away with it.
Let's do a charity wrestling match.
Nobody wants to see me get my ass beat. Actually, that's a lie. People probably want to see me get my ass beat. What do you think about Hundar and AB's fight? I think that while it was one of the good ones that went the distance, like I was saying, it also seemed like one of the lopsided ones. One where people were...
100%.
AB was hyped. Like, going in, his coach and everything. And I watched the H3 podcast, so, like, I was on his team. I was rooting for him.
Yeah.
And they said, like, oh, yeah, he can go. Like, this is going to be a good fight, yada, yada. And, you know, we said it was a good fight and it lasted, but I just still think he was outclassed.
Yes, agreed. I agree with all of that. I do think it was one of the better fights, but this is one of the fights I was alluding to earlier, and you just mentioned it, where it was lopsided, and this was one that I was saying I felt like there were times when Hundar was taking it a little bit easy, where I think Hundar...
Well, he was just standing like a fucking stone wall, dude. He's just standing there looking like this. I feel like sometimes he even made facial expressions like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
yeah, like there were times he would get a couple good combos in and he'd kind of stand back and almost as if he were like motioning to AB, like, come on, get a couple shots in. I think if Hundar really wanted to, I think he could have ended that fight earlier. I think he played it so defensively just because it seemed like he... Also, by his stance, you can tell the people with boxing training by their stance, like by looking at their hips and their feet. Like, you can tell who really boxed and who didn't.
It's weird how much of a discrepancy it makes too. Like we were talking about kind of earlier. Like, it's clear to me in this fight somebody has experience and someone does not have as much experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is wild.
So yeah, I mean, and Hundar, I mean, honestly, both of them. I'd love to see both of them come back. I think AB could do a lot if he kept training for another year. I don't know if I'd want to see a rematch. I'd love to see like Hundar and Dr. Mike. You know, like.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to see somebody that has about the same level of training as Dr. Mike get in there, because I really do. I don't know if it was done on purpose, but I think he has made him a pretty good villain for himself. Like, I would like to see that dude get smacked up a little bit. And I would definitely... Like, what about you? I personally would get behind Hundar. Which is another cool thing about this event, random segue, I'm a fan of some new creators now because of this. But
I think that's a cool vehicle for this as well. It's like... they're going to bring you in with your creator. I mean, I think this was like... I mean, obviously, I don't think you had a personal... Well, yeah, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so even you had a personal stake. Like, well, maybe you weren't, like, invested in him winning, but you knew somebody that was attractive to come see.
Right.
And iDubbbz even, arguably, for you. You know, but I was lining up for iDubbbz, AB, Eric, and... Just a Minx, I knew who she was, but this gets me more hyped for her shit even more now. You know, I might actually catch her doing something else now because of this.
Yeah.
I think it will have that effect on a lot of people. Harley, I came for Harley, and I loved everything that he did in it. So, like, it's definitely, what do they call it? Mutually beneficial for the event and for the creators, I think. And another one that I fucking knew beforehand coming in and fucking love, Michael Reeves versus Graham Stephan, which was like one of the more interesting fights of the night. Did you have a guess going into it for this one?
I had a want. I wanted it to play out exactly how it did.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I've misjudged, but there are not a lot of financial
I didn't know
influencers
this is where you were gonna go.
that I'm a fan of.
I agree, yeah. No, for real.
So whenever I get to see one get his lights knocked out, I'm cool with it.
What I liked about this fight was they were even in terms of, I mean, they were like within pounds of each other in weight and same height. But the difference was fucking age, clearly in this one. To me, at least.
And speed. Yeah, well,
you
had just athleticism.
The young, spry kid fucking lit him up. And you could tell that Graham Stephan, I don't think he was an athlete or anything at any point. Because you can see, like, as soon as he... Oh, wow, that might have been loud for the mic. As soon as you see him get clapped once, he was like, ah! He was, like, shocked. And then, I feel like they kept going with it, and he's like, oh, fuck,
yeah. The ending of his fight, I think, was the best one. I don't know if it's worth pulling up, but... Because he was I think, of all the people, like, he ended his own fight. I don't even think it's fair to call it a TKO and say that the ref ended the fight.
Fuck,
like,
yeah.
He fucking was just like... He got popped once good in the mouth and was like, nah, man, I don't want to do this anymore. Which... is fair. I think that moment is the best like moment to show like what most of us would look like in a boxing ring, right? Like that little clip of him being like, no more. That's how I would be if you put me in a ring with anybody.
Let's check it out.
It's probably... Oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, well this is the end of the first round, right?
Second.
Oh, okay.
Look at Michael, though. He's just so much quicker. He's, like, bouncing all around, dude. I mean, it's about to end, the fight is, so... he has to make that punch here.
But you see stuff like even in the body movement, like, you see how
he looks
Michael's, like, everything's moving, you know? And he's got some different motions. Like, the reason he keeps dipping his lower shoulder, but that's because he keeps throwing that body hook. There he was, yeah. He's like, no more. Actually, yeah. Can you rewind because that was a pretty good flurry he took. I feel like I sold him short earlier when I said it. Boom! Look at that flurry. That's great. Another one. That's 4 good ones. That's 5 good ones. And he's like, no, please just stop. Wow.
And look, he's like fucking done, dude.
And she's like, hey,
and
baby.
Michael Reeves is a palm.
He is a man possessed.
But that was a dope fight just because I love...
fight again.
Yeah, me too. But it'd just be hard. I was talking to somebody else about this. Like, while I think that Michael Reeves coming back will be a great fight, and Justin Minx coming back will be a great fight, I wonder how they match them up, you know? Like, I think Justin Minx will be a hard person to match up with somebody, because she was so good the first time around, and she's going to come back with even more experience the next time and be even better. So I feel like they have to measure, like, who would they put up against her. It can't be somebody super green like Yodeling Haley. They'll just get stomped.
Well, I mean, I think the size of it will be too.
Right,
if
the size needs adjusted.
If someone with Yodeling Haley's skill was just a Minx's size, that fight would have went very differently. So I agree with what you've said. I think it'll be easier to find a matchup for Minx than it will be for Michael.
Right, because she's at least like an average, well, maybe above average, but she's a reasonably sized woman as compared to he is a
Yeah.
small man. I mean, you have to get you specifically had to get another small man to
It's
go.
going to be hard to find, someone
They're
his
gonna have
size
midget
that's
wrestling.
not already a pro, right?
Let's get Wee Man with the boxing.
There we go.
Do you think that's like out
That's
of bounds? Do you think Michael Reeves boxes a midget?
I mean, I might answer that off
For
stream,
charity.
but-
Anyways, let's move on. The next fight, one of the other bad matchups, lopsided fights, I would say, Harley versus Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps. And this one was lopsided for a reason. Aaron joined late in replacement to the original fighter that was probably a better matchup. I don't know who it was exactly, but
Me either.
probably a better matchup, and he was a replacement, so fair enough. But he gets fucked and fucking robbed, dude.
Yeah. Which sucks too, because he was another guy that his stuff looked okay. Like, at least the pre-fight stuff, like it looked like he had learned some things. Looked like he had some pretty decent form, but then once he got in the ring with Harley, it seemed like a lot of that went out the window. And I don't necessarily blame him. You're punching a guy who probably isn't feeling anything that you're throwing. And when we panic sometimes, if we don't have good fundamentals built in, like that's why coaches always ream their players to practice so much, because when you're in your shit your pants moment, you'll revert to muscle memory. But when you don't have that to build on, your form kind of goes to shit, which is the worst thing that could happen when you're fighting a dude who already outweighs you by 50 pounds. And is what, I mean, it was a good 5-6 inches taller than this dude too, right? Like, he was massive.
It was a big weight discrepancy and a decent height discrepancy. It was, because he's like 6'7", and Aaron was like 6'2" or 3 or something. It was something like that.
Which is the worst case you can be in, because usually if the other guy's bigger, you want to be able to at least get, like, if he's got a longer reach, you want to be able to get up underneath him and get inside and work the body. But,
you're not working that body. That's a slab of meat, baby.
You might as well be punching the trunk of a fucking tree.
Yeah, for real.
So, yeah.
He was big, too. Like, I was surprised. He came the fuck out, and he was massive. I mean, obviously he's tall, but he was, like, big.
It's funny, because, everything we've just said now, I did not have any of that. Coming into the fight, I was like, oh, wow, that's a big size discrepancy. But I just assumed, like, okay, Aaron must have a much higher boxing level, and Harley's going to come out here and just be a goofball, be just a big dude. That classic, everyone knows one. Everyone went to school with that big dude who just, like, thinks he can fight or thinks he's an athlete, but he's just fucking big. And, like, you try to... you ask him to help you move and stuff, and it's like, no, you're not an athlete at all,
you reach that
guy.
thing on the top shelf there.
Dude, what are you even doing, man? And I thought Harley was going to be that dude, and he absolutely was not. So he very quickly changed my mind. It wasn't, as I was watching the fight, I was realizing, oh, God, this is not a fair fight.
He's just a legend. I love Harley. I can't wait to see him fight again. Hopefully he gets to fight Dr. Disrespect like he called him out.
Ooh, you should pull up the photo of him as well. I think you shared one with me, so there should be one in that folder. If not, there's another one that I tweeted out, a couple of them. So
the photo of what?
Of Harley in his, because I think he by far had the best ring attire. Now I know you'll be partial to ABs, and that's fair. I respect.
It was cool.
It was still some solid Teddy Fresh ring attire, but I am a Metal Gear fucking stan. So for me to see this dude go out here looking like either solid, I think he's Big Boss.
It's Big
here,
Boss,
because he's the sauce boss.
He's got an epic mealtime beret thing too.
Yeah,
it's all
and
good.
with
It
the
comes
poncho, and then the fact that he pulled out the cigar, and he also came out to David Bowie, the man who sold the world, which is a huge reference again to the Metal Gear material. So the nerd in me really popped for that one too. So he's got a new fan. I haven't watched Epic Mealtime since it was popular.
I don't think
12 years ago.
I don't think he does it anymore.
Yeah, like I don't even know what this guy does anymore, but I'm very happy to see.
It was fun.
to see him be a good dude, because he also gave a lot of props to Aaron. Like, that's cool when you see people use their, their winning time speech to do something like that. So, real class act, as they say in the sports world.
So the last fight after Harley and Aaron, which was, like I said, a
very controversial finale. I feel like we're going to have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, let's just get into it, dude. Yeah, fucking... Beforehand, I guess, I mean, I was in iDubbbz' corner no matter what, because he's my dude. But beforehand, the coaches and the interviews and everything else really made me be like, wow, he could potentially have it in the bag. I honestly was convinced that he would make it because, I don't know. They just had me convinced. That's my greenness in the boxing world. I think they did that well. I think Anissa and Ian went on all their interviews and all their podcasts and did a really good job, like, subtly hyping it and not lying about anything. But I think that they knew a lot more than they let on. Like, I think they might have knew that Ian was going to go into this and probably get beat up. I think the same thing goes for Harley's fight. I think they might have knew that he was going to go in there and whoop Aaron Hansen's ass. Especially in that case because he was a replacement. And they kind of had to be like, well, it's the best we can get for Harley.
Yeah.
So they might have known that he was going to whoop his ass. And maybe Dad and Matt Watson in the same scenario. I mean, like, it's hard to have them stand up next to each other and imagine that Matt Watson was ever going to win that fight. So I think they might have known, but it was like, damn, that's what we got. We got what we got.
Yeah.
Because you only get so many YouTubers that'll accept and do this.
For sure. And your job as the promoter is to obviously not say, oh, well, the two main events that we've booked are not going to be competitive bouts, but we hope you guys turn out. No, they're not going to say that. They're going to hype it up.
Which is crazy to think about
like,
that.
Hey, we're going to... Yeah, like what I'm saying, like what we ended up getting here at the end was a Rocky 1 moment where we were all just rooting for Ian to not be knocked out. Like, when you think about it, like, it still achieved the moment, like, it still achieved what a sporting event wants, right? It wants everyone on the edge of their seat, highly invested in the final minutes, like, in the climactic moments of it. It just wasn't for the normal reasons. We were just sitting here hoping our dear mulleted friend doesn't get knocked on his ass, because he did all this hard work and put together such a great event. The very least we can hope for is that he's left standing at the end of it. But
right.
And then, actually, so that tweet that it had pulled up, I almost posted a tweet about it, but I wanted to wait for this
That's the wrong one.
Because I think I can express it a little better verbally, whereas a written tweet might come off as a little asshole-ish, to be fair. But I want to just say, this tweet is 100% incorrect. It says the fight was meant to be 3 minutes for 4 rounds.
Oh, interesting.
Either way, they went hard, and I don't think the outcome would have changed. Thank you all for your support. That's 100% wrong, because if you remember, Danny, when they had the 3-minute timer up, like, iDubbbz was about to get knocked out in the first round. He got saved. Yeah. He got saved by the bell in the first and maybe the second round. So I'm saying, if those were 4 3-minute rounds, our boy does not make it.
Look at him.
And technically the result's the same. It's still a loss for him. But this, losing it the way that he did is much better for him, and probably for the event, that it went to the final like that. So I just thought it was a little untrue to tweet it out, be like, it had no impact on the... It's like, yeah, mistakes happen. It's not a big deal, but... Yeah, our boy could not go for 3 minutes. I think he would have got
knocked out, yeah. Or maybe not knocked out, but I think they would have called it.
Yes, they would have TKO'd him. Because I think there were a couple rounds as is where they were very close to TKO'ing him in those final seconds. But still, I mean, just
when you look at him at the end, I mean, holy shit, dude. Ian looks like a mongoloid, and fucking Dr. Mike barely looks like anything happened.
If you get close, if you see some close-ups, though, you can definitely, like... Dr. Mike won't soon forget he was in a fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Ian got a couple in on him.
You can see around his eyes and on his forehead and shit that he got rocked. But, I mean, in comparison, I mean, come on, dude. Ian got fucked
He
up,
did.
dude. He looks fucking crazy. He looks so fucking crazy.
Which almost makes, probably not even almost. I think it makes Dr. Mike's, I'm going to call it a cheap shot.
Let's talk about that.
That much cheaper, because he already was in the powerful position. He did not need to pull this buster move.
Let's talk about that, because Anissa actually tweeted out during the fight.
Yeah, she did.
She tweeted out and said, like, oh, Ian's dad had to hold me back from jumping out of my fucking seat when he was doing this.
Yep.
They tapped gloves, which I didn't know that this was a phenomenon.
We can show it, by the way.
I didn't know this was a thing that you could do, or that people did, or people avoided, I guess, because that's what I was told, that this is a void thing. A thing people avoid. But Dr. Mike gets in a cheap shot here when they touch gloves and...
Which, again, so we talked about this while we were at the event, right?
We're not going to find the cheap shot.
No, it's on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Anissa retweeted, and I retweeted her, so you can just find it either way. So basically, like, before a fight, right, you're required, when the referee... there it is, right there. Because it's the above. Yeah. So there you touch gloves. Boom. Quick shot. So, okay, before a fight,
let's catch that
when the referees tell you to touch gloves at the beginning, you have to touch gloves. Otherwise,
tap, boom, boom, boom.
You don't have to touch gloves to start a round.
Yep.
So it's normally when it's done as like a sign of respect amongst the combatants.
Which
like,
is what I thought. I thought you like tap up,
let's go, let's have a good competitive
take
round.
Like a couple steps back, and then you start the match.
So Mike doing that move is very like Disney movie villain. You know what I mean? Like, that's something the assholes that beat up on the Mighty Ducks would do. You're already an advantage. Yeah, mm-hmm. And then you, in a moment that is supposed to be of trust, in a show of sportsmanship amongst two competitors, you use it then to sneak in a jab at right cross cheap shot. So, I mean, IDubbbz's dad and his girlfriend and everyone involved had every reason to be incredibly frustrated. And this was another moment I missed when it was live.
Somebody said something and I was like...
completely missed it.
Like, I didn't really notice what was going on at first. And then somebody said something like, wow, look at... I mean, like, I was watching as it was happening, and I just didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know to be aware of it.
Yeah.
That somebody said, wow, they just tapped gloves, and he went right in. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? When you see it and know what's going on, it does look. Absolutely. It looks egregious. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I would love to hear if you are a practicing fighter and you have the opinion that this was not a cheap shot, please. This isn't just your regular call to action, right? I would love to hear your opinion as to why this wouldn't be a cheap shot, because I would think that anyone seeing this would be like, oh yeah, that's uncalled for, especially in a charity event, right? Like, goddamn.
I mean, Dr. Mike was going for the clout, bro. I think that he was really going for the clout. I mean,
he's made a good villain now too, right?
Well, like, yeah, and
I want to see him fight again, not for good reasons, mind you, but I want to see him get beat up.
I think Dr. Mike was exposed to a crowd that he was not before. So I think that, like, this was a very good clout reach moment for him.
Oh, yeah.
Him doing all that and getting people talking about him and shit is very good for him, because this is a lot of eyes I don't think that have seen him before. And people will probably return to see him fight again, because I think... That was another question I wanted to ask. Do you think that either of these guys... Do you think they rematch? Or do you think both of them go on to fight? Or do you think...
I think they both go on to fight. I think, I agree with you that IDubbbz may go your suggested route and may take one of these off. Yeah. But what I think he should do instead is just, now that he has his proof of concept, I think they should just up the stakes and he should just hire someone who does this for a living to book his event. Because let's be honest, he's not necessarily a pro at either of these, right? Like, he's a content creator. He's a documentary producer. He did a pretty good job, so he can now.
Having said that,
he and Anissa now, like, they can easily oversee it. You know what I mean? Like, they did a good enough job for me to believe that they could hire someone else to handle the day-to-day, and then they can just make sure that that person stays on track.
Interesting.
Thus allowing him enough time to train. So maybe he takes 1 year off. I would suggest he not take too long off if he actually wants to do this. But I don't necessarily. I mean, I would take a rematch. Maybe do that for Creator Clash 3, because I think with Creator Clash 2, there's going to be so many opportunities for new matchups that I would definitely want to just keep that open. And there's again, I would love to see Hundar and Dr. Mike. You know what I'm like? Those are two guys. It was like, okay, these guys.
Isn't Dr. Mike a little too tall, or no?
Maybe. I think it's more about weight though.
Is it?
Boxing is declassified by weight. So if you just happen to be a tall person, you're just tall.
That's interesting too.
It's
a
with the
lot.
skill
A lot
levels,
of this,
right?
I keep saying that this is interesting to me, but it clearly, I mean, it is, because I'm not in this world, you know. So all the stuff that you're telling me is kind of a new thing to me. So it is. I mean, it is interesting.
Which leads me to the one question that I had for you about this, which is hypothetically, you know, now let's just say a couple of the creators from because I assume you'll be invested enough to at least watch the creator class.
I definitely will come back for these as these go along.
If a couple of these guys decide to take the Jake Paul route and actually become boxers, has this done enough to potentially get you interested in the sport of boxing? Like, if the right personalities were there, would you still watch this based on your first experience?
So, like, not the creator class specifically, but like if Dr. Mike went on to fight in another event or something.
Or let's say it's someone you like. Like, let's say it's iDubbbz, and like after the creator clash, he's on an undercard. Like, he decides, I'm going to be a professional fighter, but he's not going to be able to. No one in the creator clash is going to be able to transition from, you know, to immediately be able to do like Jake Paul. Like, I'm going to fight Floyd Mayweather type stuff. So they're going to have to come if they want to be a pro. They're gonna have to slide in probably on an undercard and fight. So with that, like, would you watch iDubbbz on someone else's card?
I think as this progresses, you know, you can maybe ask me that again next year after the second one. But as of right now, I only watched this because of the people involved, and what they did was guarantee my purchase of the next one, you know, with how the event went, how professional it was, how entertaining it was, you know, yada yada. They guaranteed my purchase coming forward, but I'm not necessarily sure if it would cause me to. The only reason I would watch another event like this is because there's people involved that I want to watch. Got it.
See, well, that's a good point. So I think
it might change,
right? Which is good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's goal number one that they had to accomplish, right? Because most of the people who watched for the exact reasons that you just stated. But the only way I think this has real longevity is if, you know, it has to be able to over time convert, fans like you that are here for the personalities. Like, if you don't eventually come to love the boxing, you're not going to keep coming back to the creator clash. So that's that's why I asked that question, because that's the thing that I'm interested to know. Viewers, I'm interested to know that too from all of you. Like, did this do enough to actually get your interest in the sport itself, or are we still in a spot where it's just like, well, I like these creators, and if they try something else, like, if it's not boxing, would we watch them all play fucking, in a paintball tournament? If it's not boxing, it could be anything. We kind of
talked about it, like, I would watch, like, a celebrity wrestling or something. I'd watch Celebrity Deathmatch.
That needs to be done. I think celebrity wrestling, like, there's actually, like, someone has done it on 2K, where they've, like, because people can create wrestlers, where they've done celebrity wrestling, and it has a following. Like, it could very
that would be a cool
it could
thing.
Very well be entertaining.
I think going forward with this stuff, like, I think that this is like superhero movie moment. I think that they got their moment. It's like a flash fire thing where, like, for a decade here, or maybe longer, a little longer, you know, they've got a chance of, like, these creators and shit getting to do this boxing thing and this be a popular thing. I think eventually it'll just be another thing. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. We're on the same page.
I
That's
think
what
eventually that it'll be like, okay, well, we're throwing you, Woody, boxing event away, and we are grabbing the wrestling event buzz.
Yeah, because I think they will just cycle through different. Because you could do this with all kinds of things. People do this all the time. Just locally here in Columbus, not too long ago, they had a celebrity boxing game with like a bunch of different local influencers and stuff. Like, it's a common thing. It's like, what's a thing that famous people can do that has a competitive element, so I can root for my person that I like and root against the person.
Celebrity football
that aren't on my team. Yeah,
YouTube football,
flag football, probably. I mean, hey, I think it's easier with the combat sports to start, but like also, shit, dude, I would watch a celebrity slow pitch softball league. I really would.
You watch
I'd watch
celebrity
these people goof around.
Dangerous Game? Like the book? Like they...
It's like they hunt other people?
They hunt each other. For murder sport. Celebrity deathmatch literally would be cool. If I got to see, like, Harley smash, cave in Aaron Hansen's skull, that would have been way cooler. Like, if he could have, flattened out on the ring and, like, reached underneath and fucking pulled out, like, a fucking ladder or something and fucking set it up and jumped from the top and fucking just destroyed and annihilated his body, that would have been cool. No?
Sorry, I didn't want my face on the face recognition while you were saying all those things.
Yeah, maybe that's a good note for us to go out on.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, right, in Minecraft. All in all, I would say both of us enjoyed the event, right? I mean, it was a good Saturday night.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. I will say, to be fully transparent, I did not expect to enjoy this event. I figured it was like, I'll get to hang out with the boys. Yeah, there will be some really bad fighting on TV, but hey, we'll be together, we'll be hanging out, and that'll be fine on its own. So I was pleasantly surprised at how well this thing went, and I'll probably watch the next one, so long as we still have a route to chase.
Yeah, and I hope you guys out there watch the next one of these. Come back for our Creator Clash every week. It's called the Clout Route, and we talk about stupid shit like this that happens on the internet. And I hope that you liked today's episode, and I hope you come back next week to see Kevin knock me out in one punch. So if that sounds interesting to you, check us out next week. Same time, same place, same boxing form. Excellent boxing form from Kevin. Take it easy, my dudes and dudettes and NBs. Later!